Welcome back to American Outdoors, and on this episode we're going to be doing a brief video, and I'm going to share a little bit of background of this historical holiday, Labor Day. And I'm going to try and keep this video short and pithy, and I think you'll find it interesting. Another name for Labor Day is the working man's holiday, and it is celebrated the first weekend every September. Now this old video, it's from the Library of Congress. This is a Labor Day parade from 1906, and I believe it is from Fitchburg, Massachusetts, and they really drew a crowd that day. On Tuesday, September 5th, 1882, the very first Labor Day March or parade was started by Union leaders. Over 10,000 men and women, along with children from a variety of industries, took to the streets to raise awareness to their working conditions. Now also, one thing you might not know, the 4th of July was not the only holiday that they celebrated with fireworks. They also like to shoot them off on Labor Day. And so anyway, during the original parade, after marching 5 miles from City Hall to 42nd Street, the marchers joined their families for picnics and fireworks. Lyndon B. Johnson, who was the 36th President of the United States, actually, he was the Vice President under John F. Kennedy, and then when Kennedy was assassinated in November of 1963, he ascended into the presidency. But anyhow, so the working man's holiday, as I mentioned before, is celebrated every first weekend in September. Lyndon Johnson signed the Uniform Holiday Bill into law in 1968, and that was an assurance that the holiday would always fall on a Monday. However, it was Grover Cleveland that actually made it a holiday back on June 28, 1894, and he did this following pressure created by his suppression of the Pullman strike. The Pullman Palace Car Company had cut wages due to an economic depression, and the railway union supported a strike. 125,000 workers walked off their jobs. This was no small thing. And the American Railway Union, also known as the ARU. Anyway, that's a pretty neat story, and if you want to look that up, maybe that's for another video, but there's quite a bit of history behind all that too. The first Labor Day was celebrated on a Tuesday in 1882. It was changed permanently to Monday in order to allow workers to enjoy a 3-day weekend. Now, it's just me, but I'm thinking that not a whole lot got done on a Monday when you had Saturday, Sunday, and then you're going to have Tuesday off, but maybe that's just me. Anyway, let's get back to history. So in a factory worker in the 1880s typically worked 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days per week for about 70 cents per day. Now that was for a man or a woman. And actually a woman probably didn't make as much as a guy, but we're going to talk about kids here for a minute, because children as young as 6 years old worked in mines, factories, and textile mills, earning far less than either one as an adult. President Woodrow Wilson, who was the 28th president, and he served from 1913 to 1921, signed what is known as the Adamson Act. The 8-hour workday did not become law until Woodrow Wilson signed the Adamson Act in 1916. So we see that labor and employment standards began to evolve in the early part of the 20th century. Franklin Roosevelt on June 25th, 1938 signed what was called the FLSA, or the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938. And that expanded the 8-hour workday to other industries and also included a minimum wage, overtime, and child labor laws. The minimum wage at the time was 25 cents per hour, time and a half, overtime, and it prohibited employment of minors in oppressive child labor situations. Labor Day was originally a state holiday, with Oregon becoming the first state to recognize it. Labor Day is considered a symbolic end to summer, probably more marketing than tradition. but personally I don't see it that way. Living in Tennessee, summer seems to linger long past early September, but of course not everyone lives in Tennessee. Now, something else that you may not be aware of, that Labor Day is not a singular holiday. And what I mean by that is Labor Day is technically two holidays. The Monday following the first weekend in September is preceded by Labor Sunday, the week before, recognizing educational and spiritual messages. And there still are some churches that continue to recognize this earlier holiday. The Labor Day white sales and stories around wearing white were due to a general rule regarding the upper class. Many of them would wear white as their vacation attire around their summer cottages. Emily Post, an American socialite, wrote that it was unfashionable to wear white after Labor Day. 40 years ago, we started school the week following Labor Day, and that was due to oppressive heat and lack of air conditioning. Modern conveniences have allowed schools to start their school years early to mid-August. A typical modern-day era Labor Day can involve cooking out, barbecues, traveling, parades, family, friends. Oh, and the beginning of the NFL football season. So for many of us, we'll be pulling out our GPS and we'll input the coordinates, and we'll be loading up our families into our cars and our trucks, and we'll be heading on the road en route to friends and family. So I'm going to share some numbers with you. And according to statistics, more than half the population is expected to travel somewhere over the Labor Day weekend. And of course, with traffic already bad most everywhere across the nation, there will be traffic jams, bottlenecks, accidents, emergency services. I mean, that's all just part of what happens in modern society. According to the Department of Transportation, there is an average of 400 plus or minus fatalities, give or take, each year due to car accidents. That is the second highest total behind Memorial Day. So as with all holidays that involve travel, leave early, enjoy it, but be safe. Thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoyed this episode from American Outdoors. Like and subscribe, leave your comments below, and we'll see you again, folks. Bye-bye.